Love will increase. I am happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise. I'm happy, so healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I know the light of love is shining in my eyes. I am happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise. Every day I'm happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise. Can't you see I'm happy now? So healthy, wealthy, and wise. I'm happy, healthy, wealthy. I'm healthy, and oh, I'm wise. I am happy and healthy and wealthy and wise.
Oh, that was another drum beat there. How you doing, everybody? Good morning. Can I get a rabbit? All right. I can go home now. He played with us last week, and it added a great touch to our Halloween show. And I'd like to welcome our musician for today, Mr. Doc Wilson, please.
We have come together as a family. We have come here as we are. We have come with arms wide open. We have gathered here in love. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Raise a roof with shouts of praise, Spirit's in this place. 'Cause we sing in celebration. We sing with words of praise. We affirm all life as sacred. We declare that peace is here. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Raise the roof with shouts of praise, Spirit's in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Spirit is in this, Spirit is in this place. Raise the roof with shouts of praise, Spirit's in this place. Woo!
If you got one of these, it's a junk phone. If you got one, silence that thing, please. Appreciate everyone wearing masks. Thank you. Now I'd like to have us all rise for the seventh inning stretch as well as our poulet.
Aloha no kako. We bring you the blessing from Auntie Mahealani, Kumu Mahealani, and honor her with this wonderful chant that she had gifted us. Kale aloha I nā kupuna. Kale aloha I nā kupuna. Noho ao I ka manawa. Noho ao I ka manawa. A me nā manawa I ke ko'upono. A me nā manawa I ki ko'upono. Mahalo nui no pomaika'i neau. Mahalo nui no pomaika'i neau. Kale aloha I nā kupuna. Kale aloha I nā kupuna. He inoa nā kupuna.
You may unrise. Thank you all. Unrise and center and settle for a moment as we let the sounds of an auto harp wash over us. Love is all around us. It's right in the air that we breathe. It's saturated in the words that we say to each other and the feelings that we have. And it's bubbling from each chord that Susanna is playing right now. And yes, it's even in the cars that drive by. And I think we all are, we are open to it, love. There's a reason that each one of us is here or watching from home. Something we're looking for. Something we're hoping to find. And I'm here to say that we will all find it. Maybe from a surprising source, a loving word or expression. Maybe from a thought that inspires and builds on others, growing for days, weaving its way unhindered through your brain as if an animated movie, webbing its way across the universe. And doesn't that feel just right? Yes, it does. So I say, thanks, love. And I've held you bottled up here long enough, so I'm releasing you to flow forth and work your magic in whatever way you see fit on this absolutely fine day. And I release this prayer to all of you over there, out there, with the thought that each word today is laced with that hopeless narcotic called love. And we all proclaim this so by saying together, and so it is. Thank you. Yeah, I made it happen. Once again, welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, and I invite you to read with me our vision statement, Awakening Humanity to its Spiritual Magnificence. And join me in our mission statement, which is to provide an environment of aloha, inspiring a spiritual approach to living. And wherever you are on your spiritual path, you, my friends, are welcome here. We use prayer, one of the most powerful tools to support our community. We lean into spiritual mind treatment, our form of affirmative prayer. So please remember the minister and the practitioners are here to pray for, and if you prefer, with you. Doc, Casey, Cathy, whoever I might have forgotten. You can fill out a prayer request at the table and put it in the box, or you can send a request to prayerhawaiicsl@gmail.com. Now, it's my pleasure, honor, to leave you in the good and loving hands of a woman I'm proud to be one with, my beautiful wife, Sandi Alstrand. Creative thought.
Thank you, Dennis. So I am working on a class I'm going to be teaching on Zoom called How to Cope with These Trying Times Using Ritual. So now that I have that shameless advertisement out of the way, what happened was I was thinking about the class and talking about ritual and how when we do ritual by ourselves, it's very powerful. The same with prayer and with meditation. But when we do it with a group, how it increases, 100-fold or whatever. And I know that all of us here know that, in our hearts, we just know that that's true. However, there is a group, it's the Global Consciousness Project. It's a group of scientists, and I think they're really wonderful because they're part of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, and they have set out a few years ago to prove that this happens. So to prove to the communities that need proof of these things, not like us who just know it in our hearts and our beings that it's true. So what they've done is they have put these random number generators in different parts of the world. And I believe one is in New York City. So, and these random number generators they'll change when there's something that's happened that causes human beings to have a lot of emotion. Say, for example, when 9/11 happened, there was just a real spike in the random number generators. And so it can only be attributed to our thoughts and our energy causing that, which is really amazing. So the purpose of the Global Consciousness Project, so coherent consciousness creates order in the world. Subtle interactions link us with each other and the earth. That's their statement. And the purpose is to examine subtle correlations that may reflect the presence and activity of consciousness in the world. They say that we hypothesize that there will be structure and what should be random data associated with major global events that engage our minds and hearts. When human consciousness becomes coherent, the behavior of random systems may change. Random number generators based on quantum tunneling produce completely unpredictable sequences of zeros and ones, just naturally. But when a great event synchronizes the feelings of millions of people, our network of RNGs becomes subtle, structured. We calculate 1 in a trillion odds that the effect is due to chance. The evidence suggests an emerging noosphere or the unifying field of consciousness described by sages in all cultures. So subtle but real effects of consciousness are important scientifically, but their real power is more immediate. They encourage us to make essential, healthy changes in the great systems that dominate our world. Large-scale group consciousness has effects in the physical world. Knowing this, we can intentionally work toward a brighter, more conscious future. And what is more important than that? Working towards a brighter, more conscious, loving future. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll join that class. Yeah, I was listening to Doc playing before we started this morning, and I noticed you got a real good, steady style. You'd be a good recording pianist. I'd like to welcome again, please, Doc Wilson.
smile, an everlasting smile, a smile could bring you near to me. Don't ever let me find you gone, 'cause that would bring a tear to me. This world has lost its glory. Let's start a brand new story now, my love. Right now, there'll be no other time, and I can show you how, my love. Talk in everlasting words and dedicate them all to me. And I will give you all my love. I'm here if you should call to me. You think that I don't even mean a single word I say. It's only words, and words are all I have to take your heart away. It's only words, and words are all I have to take your heart away. It's only words, and words are all I have to take your heart away.
All right, all right. What a great song. Well done. I want to read this next part to get it right. All of us hold Reverend Cathy close to our heart. In the years she has been with us, I've really seen her grow in the creation of and the delivery of her messages. I'm sure you have too. She was good at the start, but has just grown and grown. It's unknown what her role will be after she steps down as our senior minister. Unknown to me anyway, and her too, she just said, at the end of next month. So I'm just gonna enjoy her more than ever as I call her up and let her unleash her words of love upon us. Folks, Reverend Cathy Hough.
The pressure. I'm speaking in January, so I'm not quite disappeared yet. But I don't know either. It's the unknown. So, good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to see you all here today. Good morning. So there were once two men who were both very seriously ill, and they shared a room in a large hospital. It was a small room, and it only had one window that looked out on the world. So one of the men, as part of his treatment, was encouraged to sit up in bed every afternoon for 1 hour so that the fluids from his lungs could drain more easily. And he was the one who had the bed that was next to the window. But his roommate in the hospital was too sick to sit up and spent all his time lying flat on his bed. So every afternoon, when the man who was by the window was propped up for his hour, he'd pass the time by describing what he saw, what he could see from the window. The window apparently overlooked a park, and there were swans and ducks gliding on the lake. There were children playing, there were lovers walking arm in arm beneath the trees, flowers, stretches of grass, games of softball, people walking their dogs, and beyond that scene was the city skyline. So the man on his back would listen, and he was kind of begrudging about it at first, but he listened to the other man describe all the wonders that he was seeing. He heard all about how a child almost fell into the lake, and how beautiful the women were with their summer dresses. The fellow looking out the window really enjoyed it all, and he felt better and better every day. The reclining man didn't want to hear it at first, but gradually, after days, then weeks of this narrative of listening every day to this man describe what he saw outside the window, the man who had to stay lying down also began to feel better. And he thought about the day when he too would be able to sit up and look out a window. Well, that happened. One day, the man whose bed was beside the window recovered enough to be sent home. And the first thing that his roommate did was to ask to be moved to that bed by the window. He thought that if he too could just see all the beauty that was outside his window, he would be made well again. So they moved him, they tucked him in, they made him comfortable, and at his request, they propped him up with a lot of pillows so that he was pretty much sitting up. And the minute all the nurses and orderlies and aides left the room, he turned his head eagerly to look out the window, only to see that his view was a blank wall. So this story speaks to different levels. First, of course, it speaks to the healing power of kindness extended from one man to another. But it also speaks of something greater, the ability to broaden our vision and see beyond appearances, and to view everything, even that blank wall, from a place of spiritual truth and spiritual perspective. In his book, The Pathway to Roses, metaphysician Christian Larson wrote this. He said, "This is our purpose, to live the purest, the largest, the fairest, the most useful, the most beautiful, and the most spiritual life possible, just for today. To be our very best here and now, with no desire to outshine some other being, but simply to be all that we are in the divine being now." Our theme for this month, November, is Breathe in the View. And this week's topic is the view from here. Douglas Abram reminds us that a healthy perspective is the foundation of joy and happiness, because the way we see the world is the way we will experience the world. Changing the way we see the world, in turn, changes the way we feel and the way we act, which changes the world itself. Or, as the Buddha says, with our mind, we create our world. Now, we all know this in our heads. We've been taught this every Sunday, and when we show up in every class we take, this idea that we create our own world underlies our entire spiritual philosophy. But moving it from our heads, we get it in our heads, but moving it from our heads to our hearts, to a place of activeness every day, it's a journey. It's a journey of a lifetime. I remember way back in the 70s, when I was first dabbling in metaphysics, I was drawn to a book by Wayne Dyer called You'll See It When You Believe It. I think it was one of his very first publications. And being somewhat of a cynic, I was kind of blown away by this tale, because I was one of those ones who would often say, "Oh yeah? Well, I'll believe that when I see it." What? I'll see it when I believe it? It was a mind-boggling idea that sent me on a quest, and it has indeed been the journey of a lifetime. It has moved me inch by inch and step by step and prayer by prayer into a higher state of consciousness, some days way higher than others, but a higher state of consciousness where I can reflect on the timeless wisdom of the journey as I continue to evolve spiritually and become more adept at adjusting the view from here. CSL has a statement of evolutionary vision, and one of the statements says, "We envision humanity awakening to its spiritual magnificence and discovering the creative power of thought. A world in which every person discovers his or her own personal power and ability to create an individual life that works within a world that works for everyone." We all have that power, and we use it every single time we consciously choose to look upon our world and our lives through the eyes of spirit. And it's like any other discipline we undertake. We become better and better with intention and practice. In What Religious Science Teaches, our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, states, "The ultimate goal of life does not mean that we shall arrive ever at a spiritual destination where everything remains static and inactive. That which, to our present understanding, seems an ultimate goal will, when attained, be but the starting point for a new and future evolution. We believe in an eternal upward spiral of existence." And we're all participants in this continuous upward spiral of evolution. And at times, I know I have, I'm sure you have too, you feel like you've come to a screeching halt on that spiral, and you kind of stay in place for a while. But the good news is we never go backwards. We're always moving onward and upward. And as we evolve, we learn to face the challenges that confront us from a more elevated place on the spiral. And then we're more easily able to adjust the view and to see things from a higher plane of consciousness. The higher we lift our consciousness, the clearer we can see the truth of any situation. From a higher state of consciousness, we can be in the world, but not of it. We spend less and less time being under the effect of this world, and so challenges don't last as long or have the same degree of impact as they used to have for us. For those of you who are new to the teaching, that's something you have to look forward to, because I know that the longer that I live and hang out on this plane, the easier it becomes for me to reach the realization that this too shall pass, no matter what it is, no matter how horrifying the temporary view seems to be. And I can make it pass quicker by adjusting my viewpoint. And I've been horrified by many things throughout the course of my life, and I imagine I will continue to be until I go on to my next great adventure in eternity. But I do know that I am always, always, always at choice. I can get deeply mired easily in the situations that horrify me, or I can choose to move to a place of spiritual awareness where I'm able to stop and pray and bless and hear guidance and determine what, if anything, is mine to do. It helps when I remember that, as Dr. Holmes teaches, it is only when we view life from the standpoint of an expanding soul, destined forever to exist somewhere, that we can make either sense or sanity out of human experience. If we view life from the standpoint that each is an evolving soul, destined to live forever somewhere, we shall see that in the long run, life must return to us what we reflect into it. It's a kind of a heady thought for me to think that we're all evolving souls destined to live forever somewhere. It can be a little scary sometimes, this eternity stuff. Yikes. You mean I gotta keep coming back? Ernest Holmes doesn't think so, but some do, and I don't really know, but I do know that our life is eternal wherever it ends up. I remember my secretary, yes, this really was her name, Ida Bell. Ida Bell, who used to say, "I hate my name." But anyway, my secretary, Ida Bell, once told me, she just insisted, she goes, "The only way I'm coming back here again is if I come as a butterfly, because then my life will be beautiful, short, and sweet." But, so we can worry about eternity and living forever, oh my God, or, again, we're at choice. We can recognize that we are eternally evolving souls. We have lots of time to get it right. No matter how many times we err, we are still spirits, beloved creations, and we have an eternity to evolve and get better at this thing called life. The Science of Mind text tells us that the sum total of all erroneous human belief binds. It binds until the individual mentally lifts himself above the law of averages and into the higher law of spiritual evolution. So it becomes my main job each day to mentally lift myself above the law of averages so I can see the view from here with a higher perspective. I don't know about the rest of you, but I took a lot of Zoom classes over this past year and a half, yay for Zoom. But one of my teachers, who is a minister of a big mega church in Seattle, she gave us the assignment of spending 10 minutes a day looking up as part of our spiritual practice, looking up. She quoted from Psalm 121, "I will lift up mine eyes to the hills from whence cometh my help." I will lift up my eyes to the hills from whence cometh my help. This was such a simple exercise, and I undertook it with some of my still lurking skepticism, but I decided to do it. And it slowly has become a treasured choice to include in my daily spiritual practice. I don't do it every day, but I do it quite a bit. And I don't know whether it comes from just sitting in the stillness or the act of consciously looking up, but this conscious act brings me immediately to a place of peacefulness and absolutely soothes my soul. Unity minister Eric Butterworth wrote this in his classic book, Spiritual Economics. He said, it is a powerful insight to live by. Always get the view from the top. Before you react negatively to people, conditions, or things, take a moment to lift your eyes unto the hills. Contemplate all the changing, challenging experiences from the highest possible point of view. Regardless of the appearance of conflicts or limitations, see all things from the awareness of the allness of life and ever-present substance. From the view from the top, you will see things creatively, leading to an attitude that is constructive and optimistic. And those of you who have been around this teaching for a while know that Dr. Holmes considered Ralph Waldo Emerson to be one of his most influential teachers. And in his essay called Self-Reliance, Emerson wrote, "Prayer is the contemplation of the facts of life from the highest point of view." Prayer is the contemplation of the facts of life from the highest point of view. I love this definition of prayer because it takes us to where we need to be in our consciousness. David Riccio expands this idea, and he said, contemplative prayer is considered both a gift of grace, something that happens in us, and a practice that we can accomplish with effort. Is there a way to learn from this religious perspective and to be open to this grace? It takes a freedom from dualism, no longer thinking of prayer as a form of communication in which we contact a far-off being in the sky. That's not what prayer is. Contemplation takes us to a new concept of prayer. It is oneness with a presence within and around us. We can think of this presence as the indwelling spirit, our higher self, our Buddha nature, our deep inner life, a higher power than ego, a field of wholeness. Call it what you will. We're not praying to someone for something, but we are learning from the contemplative style of prayer that we can turn to a deeper life in us, something more than we notice in our daily life. We open to the essential inner resource, our enlightened nature, always here and always now. So there was once this young couple who purchased their first home together. And shortly after moving into their home, the woman was staring out her window and looking at her neighbor, watching her neighbor hang her laundry outside. She saw what the neighbor was doing, and she commented to her husband, "Look at their dirty linen," she said to her husband. "Our neighbor obviously isn't using the right detergent, or she just doesn't know what she's doing." So thereafter, every time the neighbor hung up their laundry, the woman would make a comment. Oh, she was amazed. How could that laundry be so dirty? Until one morning came and she looked out the window and she went, oh my God, our neighbor finally got it right. Her laundry is so clean. Would you look at that? But her husband went, no, it's just because I washed our window. Which reminds me, okay, everything's looking dirty outside my bedroom window. We're all tasked with washing the windows of our minds. Got to keep those windows clean. Every spiritual act we undertake is about changing the way we see things. Since our birth, we've always been conditioned to believe that life is lived from the outside in rather than from the inside out. We see things out there and we react with attitudes and feelings about them, thus leading to seeing is believing. But Reverend Scott Aubrey explains sight this way. He says, sight is an interesting phenomenon. Things that are seen, fall on the retina of the eye upside down as if a camera. Through the nerve endings that are sensitive to light, we get the picture distributed over several recording points. But by the miracle of vision, we don't see all the points. They are transformed into one solid view. Even more, when the mind sees, what the mind sees is not this solid picture that is communicated to the brain, but what our awareness has conditioned us to see. In other words, seeing is not believing, but believing is seeing. We see things not as they are, but as we are, or through the state that our heart is in. Our perceptions are shaped according to our experiences, according to our faith, according to where we are on that evolutionary spiral. When something in our world is out of kilter and disharmony or illness or lack has come a calling, the first thing we try to do naturally is to try to make it right. But when we reach a deeper understanding of the art of visualization, we see that the greatest need is not to make things right, but rather the greatest need is to see things rightly. More important than changing things out there is to change the way we interpret them. Well, okay, so there's the visualization, that's treasure mapping and putting pictures of the car you want on the refrigerator. We're not talking about that, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that. But we're talking about reaching a greater depth when we strive to see all things from God consciousness. To turn on the light which allows us to see abundance even in the middle of illness or scarcity. As Scripture says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. It's not denying the facts that we are facing, rather, it's seeing them rightly. The Hebrew word for eye is ayin, A-Y-I-N, ayin, which literally means fountain. Vision is not just registering what we see out there. It's so much more. True seeing, true visualization is a flow of consciousness, like a fountain from within. Where we are in awareness has everything to do with what we see in our experience. Deepak Chopra says, what you see is a selective act of attention and interpretation. Although you are inundated by billions of bits of sensory impulses, Every moment you selectively filter out the vast majority, allowing only a very small fraction into your awareness. What you allow into your awareness is determined by your habitual patterns of seeing and interpreting the world. And your intention and interpretations create what you see and ultimately determine what you believe. Because a belief is simply an interpretation that you hold to be true. One day, a little girl was looking out her window, and she was crying because she was watching her brother burying her kitten in the backyard. Her mom watched over her for a while and let her cry, and then gently her mom guided the little girl to another window. And out that window, the little girl saw her puppy playing in the yard and her best friend running up the walk. And all of a sudden, she smiled. And her mom hugged her and told her, "Honey, sometimes we just need to look out a different window." And isn't that the truth? That's the truth. Sometimes we just need to look out a different window. And granted, this is not always simple, it's not always painless, but it is always necessary. Because as Max Planck, who won a Nobel Prize for Physics, emphasizes, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Yeah, that's the whole principle behind spiritual mind treatment, and it's physics in a nutshell. Now, this coming Thursday, we will be honoring our veterans. And I am a pacifist to the max. I don't believe that any kind of war will ever solve anything. But I've had to learn to look out a different window because this point of view made me very judgmental. And I remember being a child of the 60s, watching the Vietnam vets come home, and they were scorned, and they were ignored, and they were not served. Unpopular war. And I was joining right in with that viewpoint. Luckily, keep walking on that evolutionary spiral. I had to move, and I was able to move to a higher place on the evolutionary spiral to see how wrong these attitudes were and to understand and appreciate the role our veterans have played over the course of history. President Jimmy Carter once said, "So much that is good in this nation depends on the unknown actions of humble men and women who understand the importance of duty done without public recognition or the blare of trumpets." The strength of our nation lies in our willingness to do what we must, each of us, each day, whatever and wherever may it lie in our particular duty. We still are not doing right by our veterans. We have a long way to go. The suicide rate of returning veterans is off the charts. We can help. We can pray. We can visualize. We can write letters. We can do what we need to do to right that wrong. But let's start looking out a different window. And this story is from another Jimmy, one of my favorite Jimmys, Jimmy Durante. One time, Jimmy was asked to be in a USO show for World War II vets, and he agreed, but he emphasized, "I can only do one short monologue, and then I've got to leave immediately because I have another engagement." So he went on, but then something interesting happened. He went through his short monologue, but he didn't stop. He continued, another 10 minutes, another 20 minutes, another 30 minutes. Finally, he took his last bow and left the stage, and as he was leaving, one of the officers who was standing on the side commented, "I thought you had to go after a few minutes. What happened?" Jimmy Durante replied, "I did have to go, but I can show you the reason I stayed. You can see for yourself if you look in the front row." And in the front row were two men, each of whom had lost an arm in the war. One had lost his left arm, and one had lost his right arm. Together, though, they were able to clap. And that's exactly what they were doing. Loudly and cheerfully, they were clapping. Ooh, that's such a smarmy story, but it's it's very important to me. I was like, oh, yeah. Wow. Anyway, so let's honor our veterans and let's thank them. You know, I know many of you do that anyway, but I've adopted that same habit of thank you for your service. Those guys go in at 18, 17 and risk their lives for us every day, right or wrong the cause. So thankfully, I'm very thankful that I see our military from different eyes. And I'm grateful that the view from here is different. It's much more affirming and much more loving. And the other thing that we're celebrating is last Thursday began the 5-day Festival of Lights called Diwali. This is one of the major festivals celebrated by Hindus and Jains and Sikhs and some Buddhists. It symbolizes the spiritual victory of light over darkness, good over evil, and knowledge over ignorance. And there's so many celebrations during this time of year. This is the time to welcome and celebrate the light. Whether we celebrate Hanukkah, or whether we celebrate the winter solstice, or whether we celebrate Christmas or Diwali, or all of the above, let's focus on the light. Let's agree to let our inner light shine by lifting our vision to the truth of our spiritual substance, because then we can all create beautiful views from here. Thank you, and so it is.
Thank you, Cathy. I'm an older guy, and so somewhere around halfway through her talk, I gotta pee. But I know as soon as I go back there, she'll be done, and I'll be like, well, I'll come out in a minute. Instead, I got to hear a great Jimmy Durante story. Thank you. And I want to say, looking through a very clean window, those are great words of love. Thank you. It used to be that when we got to the part of conscious giving, that we would read all this stuff, kind of like, where we're going to give this the website you can go to. Instead, now Reverend Beverly has created a video for us all that's much more inspiring than, and this is it. And now, if you'll repeat after me, please. Divine love in and through me, it blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am, and so it is. More words of love. Hey, that last song was great, Doc. Words, Bee Gees, thank you. Doc Wilson, please.
When the road looks rough ahead and you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed, you just remember what your old pal said, son, you got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got troubles, then I got 'em too. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for you. If we stick together, we can see it through. 'Cause you got a friend in me. Yeah, you got a friend in me. Now some other folks might be a little bit smarter than I am, bigger and stronger too, maybe. But none of them will ever love you the way I do. Just me and you, boy. And as the years go by, our friendship will never die. You're gonna see it's our destiny. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. Oh yeah. You got a friend in me.
Sounds like a Randy Newman song.
That's what it is.
That's what it is, yeah, right. If you'd all kindly center, because last but not first, our closing treatment. Think about what we heard today. Love is all around us. It's in the air we breathe and right here in the words that were spoken. That great message, what was in the music, the creative thought, all that reverberated through the room and also via the clarity of audio and video for those at home. Was there something there for you? A spoken word that has already begun webbing its way across the universe. Did you feel the love from the awe-inspiring universal spirit that is all around us? Yeah, I think we all on board today. And as we go our separate ways, I move that we take those words of wisdom and love and bring them along with us and pay them forward to others. And as we release each word today, we know that they flow easily because they're directed from a well of power that is as strong as all of us. You can't argue that point. So say with me all, and so it is. Reverend. Thank you, Susanna. Perfect. Yeah, thank you. We have a song to listen to, a closing song. If you could all rise. This is the 9th inning stretch. I heard it. Everyone's going. I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I'm going for it anyway. Remember last week, Reverend Cathy had us howl at the close. This week, if we could repeat with a Reverend. There is one life. This life is God. This life is perfect. This life is my life now. Look what you started. She's shaking her head. Hey, I'm really glad to have been here today. This was a great day. Thanks to everybody who's here. Thank you. Have a great day.